The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
This week's episode of PSVG Prime is brought to you by the amazing Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/PSVG. But a big special thank you to our Patreon supporters, Coach Hulk, Edwin Callow, Barry Cathcart, Josh Barboni, Chris M., Devin Tyus, Paul Calicote, Kyle Heyman, Benny Liu, and Joel Voss, better known as Professor Switch. Thank you to all for your support, your generosity. We do appreciate it. And we appreciate all of our listeners, whether you donate or not. We appreciate you. But if you do decide to sign up to be a patron over at patreon.com/PSVG, you not only get our thank yous all the time, which we do a lot, like every show does them. Carol used to write you guys lovely haikus for Nintendo Shack, but she decided she doesn't care enough about you anymore, so she stopped doing that. But what you will get, though, is once a month you'll get the amazing, controversial, and sometimes disturbing episodes of PSVG DLC, the newly reformatted editions of Arcadia Academia from Caroline or myself, and then, of course, everyone likes it when I get angry, so you get Kevin Hates Everything direct to you, as well as being entered into our Patreon monthly giveaways. Current offerings include $20 Apex Legends credit, NBA 2K Playgrounds on the Nintendo Switch, $20 to the eShop of your choosing, or I got this memo from the boss. Donnie said I get to pick what's going in this month's giveaway. So PSVG is probably added in. You know what? I was thinking, it's not a surprise. Lucas is here. So Lucas, I was trying to think of something special. And at first I thought it would be some of that craft beer you make in your bathtub. But then I decided people shouldn't pay for that.
Crap beer or craft beer?
Both.
Fair enough.
So I wasn't going to do that. We have the pieces of Jason's beard, which now is a collector's item because we don't see him on Shack or anything anymore. So that's a rare item. But I settled on something that people have been clamoring for. People have been asking for this to come back, Lucas.
Oh my.
And it's one of those spiffy black PSVG polo shirts.
Oh, a modeling sesh? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. So we are tossing in a gently used. No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding there. It's a brand new PSVG Prime polo.
I can sweat into a bottle and I'll send it to you and you can spray a fine mist of it over. It'll be like I wore it.
I mean, I still have the last two bottles you sent me. I don't know why you keep sending them.
Oh, you still have those? Oh, okay, good.
I don't need them.
Good.
I tried using it as a wrinkle reducer spray. It doesn't work. It is a nice musk.
Let's try drinking it.
Yeah, and I mean 60% of the time it works every time. So, you know. Okay. But that's what we're entering in. So if you want to jump into that, it's a brand new month, so you have your opportunities. So head on over to patreon.com/PSVG. But enough of the business. Let's get on to this week's episode. Hello everyone, it's me, Kevin, not Donnie, not Seth, not Kyle or Josh, not those guys who sometimes do PSVG OT. What was their names? It's not important. It's me, Kevin, your host of PSVG Prime. With me as always, my co-host, Mr. Lucas Rose. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, hello. I'm doing okay. I'm pumping up the jams for you guys. A little tired, but jams are being fully pumped as we speak.
That's
you don't want to know what that entails.
I don't. So I was thinking we would do something that I don't think our listeners has got enough of recently, Lucas. So I think we're going to talk for 90 to 180 minutes strictly about Fire Emblem.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think anybody's heard enough Fire Emblem talk on our network.
No, Fire Emblem and the couple of houses.
Yes, they have a few. It's more than two, I know that.
Gryffindor, Slytherin, and
Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Waffle. Or Pancakes.
Waffle House, yes. The House of Waffles.
And International House of Pancakes. So I guess six houses? I don't know. I lost count. And we'll give away story spoilers because, the game's been out for a whole, week and a half at this point. I mean, everyone's beaten the campaign, right? So we can talk openly. Yeah, so I mean, that's 2 out of the 6 houses. You're fine. But no. I think we will give them something that they do not get enough of on the PSVG Podcast Network. And that's our surprise guest this week, Seth from the PlayStation Experience Podcast. You get to talk to other people, Seth. It's been a while, I know.
Yeah, it has. good to be invited and to not talk to an empty room.
Or your children. Or your children.
Well, they're okay to talk to.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting summer, I guess.
Yeah. Lots happening behind the scenes, and his co-host is on paternity leave. We'll call it PSVG paternity leave. Donnie has a very nice benefit to people when they need leave. So that's been going on there. So hopefully we'll see him reunited with you, Will, if you will, in the future. But
Lucas, I realize this is an audio podcast, but Lucas reminds me of my cat right now. sees something is pawing at a little fly.
It's these gall-darn flies. Yes, okay. I kill one and 3 spawn in its place. But I was gonna say, you know what I like about Seth being on the show? What I like is when you say that he's a surprise guest, he doesn't talk before you have said surprise guest Seth. So that everyone is an actual surprise.
Yes.
As opposed to just,
Donnie who jumps in before we even start the show.
I wasn't going to name names, but that's
okay,
a perfect example.
I did. I called him right out.
So you guys talked a lot about Fire Emblem. I feel like you were making a pointed joke there.
No.
I haven't listened to the past couple of weeks of Nintendo Shack.
Oh, then you don't get the joke then, clearly.
I'm guessing. Well, no, I could very well guess. That Nintendo Shack is the best Nintendo podcast on the internet. But if you're not interested in the current craze that they're talking about, I'm not too motivated to listen to it. Like, I'm sure this week is Pokemon, or last week, sorry, was Pokemon Fest also.
When is it not Pokemon Fest?
It's true.
There was a new Pokemon thing.
Yeah, I listened to the first, 20 or 30 minutes of Shaq this week so far. I didn't get to listen because it just dropped today as we're recording. Yeah. And it's all been Fire Emblem again so far.
Oh,
so
okay.
Sure, they will get to that, but they haven't yet. At least in my podcast queue.
The new Pokemon is a Pokebong. I don't know if you guys heard that, but
I've seen that, and I don't get how they're saying it. He's clearly wearing a top hat. Like,
I thought it was a nuclear. I only saw little pictures, but I could have swore it was like a nuclear stack.
Well, he's British now. They're in like England, so that's why he's got the tall. It's the tall smokehouse hat, and he's got a little fancy mustache made out of his smoke now. So like I don't get the Bong reference. I mean, Weezing is always puffed out smoke. Weezing. I mean, he's one of the original Pokemon, so yeah, coughing and Weezing. But yeah, I did see that article. It's ridiculous, but they won't talk about that on Shack. Yeah, they don't mock things on the Shack. We do. We mock the Shack, so it works out just well. Mm-hmm. But we're here to talk about games, as we sometimes do, or talk about streamers, which makes Donnie really mad. So we won't talk about Fire Emblem Three Houses. Why? Because none of us have played it. So I guess there's the reason really to talk about it. Let's move on. So let's talk about what we have been playing. And I'll go first because honestly, I don't have a whole lot to talk about. It's actually the same list as I played last week. Wolfenstein Youngblood. Donnie and I tried to link up and stream another session of our so successful series we did last week, where we had glitches galore. I had some issues and couldn't make it, so we're looking to stream more this Monday. So if you're interested, subscribe, like, follow, whatever you call it. Mixer.com/PSVGKevin, and you'll get notified when we go live with that. But we plan on streaming that every Monday as long as our schedules coordinate. And the game, from every review we're seeing, is just it's balls hard. A lot of reviewers have said they're not even going to complete the game because they're so annoyed with it. So it ought to be fun to watch Donnie and I struggle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which I haven't watched. Is this the one where you're the kids? You're the two girls? I know they're
his daughters.
They're not
his twin
kids,
daughters.
but you're his daughters.
Well, they're teenagers. They're actually not that old. They're clearly teenagers still. And they kind of run away to go on this adventure to not give any major storyline plots away. But BJ Blazkowicz has been missing. They heard that he was missing, and they stumble upon his secret room, if you will, of all of his tracking stuff, his research where he's studying where the Nazis are, and they stumble upon his equipment and decide to go find Daddy.
So it's essentially like the Tomb Raider games.
Yes.
Lara Croft goes through the manor and finds her dad's missing, or he died mysteriously on this island, so she goes to this island.
Yeah. It's similar to that. They're hot on the trail. Yeah. It's a co-op game, which is, obviously clearly very different for Wolfenstein, where you're really dependent on your partner. You can save your partner, you can resurrect your partner just like you can in like Apex and stuff like that. But all the enemies are super bullet sponges, and that's kind of the problem we were running into.
Okay.
Still playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance on my lunch breaks, and I know Seth is going to talk more about it there, so I'll save that. I'm getting very close to the end of the game, I believe. I'm still really enjoying it, but maybe I'll opine when Seth talks about it, because I haven't heard him get to vent about it, if you will, yet. And then I'm still playing that Dead Rising 4. So I found a Game Pass game that has still appealed to me. I'm still having a lot of fun with just the massive hordes of zombies. It is getting a little repetitive, but I understand that's kind of the methodology of Dead Rising. It's like, hey, you get to this new area, you have to create a safe place for the people you save to go to, and that place kind of levels up. It's like your base. So as you level up and you save more people, you get more resources at your base to kind of make your way to the next point. Story is still pretty good. It's kind of like an espionage type thing, and a whodunit, what secrets are being hidden behind things as you track down your student reporter photographer who kind of is acting against you despite you're the air quotes good guy, at least as far as you know. But ridiculous weapon crafting, just beating down hordes and hordes of zombies in a super violent way. It's just satisfying gameplay mechanics without having to really think about it. Apex, I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing. I just don't even put that on my list anymore because it's just safe to assume I'm always playing it. Whereas Dead Rising, I can just kind of unplug my brain and just be like, all right, let's just go bash zombies and go through. I don't need to strategize or anything like that. Lucas is still fighting the fly.
I need to kill them. They need to die.
They need to die. So let's let Seth go next, and then we'll save Lucas for last while he tries to take care of that fly.
All right. Well, I think I mentioned on last week's kind of brief episode of PSXP that I've really been on PlayStation basically playing EA games, from whether it's Apex Legends, and I've kind of cooled off a little bit on Apex. Still enjoying it, basically just playing it when I can play with Mark, who I had podcasted with a few weeks ago, or play with someone I know, and so. Which it's still fun. I'm still enjoying it, but I don't feel that itch to keep on playing it.
Did you buy the Battle Pass this time?
I did, and I'm up to even as little as I played it, I'm up to like level 16. Where the first Battle Pass I only got up to like level 24.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So I'm making progress, but at first I really liked the challenges, but now that it's been a few weeks and they're stacking up and I haven't completed them,
gets overwhelming.
It's a little overwhelming, and I kind of I'll just play as I want to play, and then I will unlock things.
Right, if stuff happens, it happens.
Yeah.
I do like, one of the things I do like though is with the daily challenges, especially some of the weekly challenges do it too, where they make you play as a certain character.
Yeah.
It's gotten me to actually be decent with almost everybody in the game, because I've officially unlocked every character. I'm like level 48, I think, on the Battle Pass right now.
Okay.
So I've played as everybody, and really the only one I don't like is Gibraltar. Everyone else I can at least hold my own with and have a decent match with. But so I do like that because it really got me to break out of just relying on like Lifeline and not playing as anybody else. I can hold my own if somebody takes her or I can't use her for a challenge.
Right, and that is a good point. I have tried out different characters through that. So like the other night I played as Bangalore, and to tell you the kind of session we had in about an hour and a half, one of my weeklies was played 10 matches as Bangalore or Watson or somebody else, and I got through that in the hour and a half.
Ouch.
So
short matches.
Yeah, I think we got a couple top fives. We did get a top three. My daily was top three with Bangalore.
Yep.
But so we played all these matches, and then one match somebody else picked Bangalore before I could, so I picked Watson, and we got top three that time. I think we got second place. So I didn't get the daily.
Oh, the daily challenge. Oh, that sucks.
But it was still fun. I enjoyed it. It just the gameplay is, I mean, that's what the whole game is. It's moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, have been doing EA Access, still going through Madden, started a Browns franchise.
I'm sorry.
Hey, they're fun. They're fun to play as. So I'm just playing on offense because I'm terrible at defense.
Sure. So
I figure rather than, for one, I only have 10 hours, so I might as well make the most of my 10 hours.
True. Yeah.
And have fun with it. I didn't play last year, but it's probably the most fun on the field Madden that I've had in years, probably this generation. And I've played Madden every year since 1995 except last year. So it's I may not be as hardcore about it as others, but it's a game that I played for a long time. So
I think you are more than others except for Coach Mo. I think you've probably played more Madden than anybody else. So
yeah, probably Coach Mo, and I think maybe Nathan maybe plays more from year to year, at least this generation. But anyway, it's a good game. It's the presentation, it still feels like Madden, and that's a weird, maybe a weird, not complaint exactly, but it's like it feels different than Madden did 5 years ago, but it also feels the same. Which I know to some level, Mario, the new Super Mario Brothers game that came out earlier this year, it's 2D Mario. I mean, Mario is Mario, but it still feels different enough in different kind of levels. Where Madden, you're always just playing football. I don't know. So, but I'm having fun. It's I'm decent at it this year against the computer, and it's always more fun when your team is good, at least a little bit good. Not necessarily like not necessarily like super power, like top of the league good, but you want to have playmakers.
So not the Patriots is what you're saying.
The other games that I've been playing are Need for Speed Payback and Burnout Paradise, which is a little weird to go back and forth between the two.
Yeah, a little bit. Play different for sure.
Yeah, they play differently, although I think Need for Speed Payback and a game like The Crew really have a large debt to pay to Burnout Paradise. I mean, that was kind of the first open world racing game.
True.
And Need for Speed Payback, I got through kind of that intro chapter where it's all you just do one story moment after the other, and now I'm kind of in an open world, and you drive over to a race and you can do some side things on the way there. So I'm getting into that a little more. It is hard to go from that to Burnout Paradise just because racing and the cars are such a visual genre.
Yeah.
In gaming, where Burnout Paradise looks good, but it's 12 years old now.
Yeah, see, it's old.
Like that.
Yeah.
And then I talked a little bit about it on my podcast last week, but these open world games like a Burnout Paradise, where it's a point-to-point race where you're racing from one side of the map to the other, and it doesn't give you a route to go, really. It just in Burnout Paradise, the street sign will flash at you at the top of your screen if you have to turn left or whatever, but you have no idea how sharp of a turn it is or anything. And that's just, it's hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
Where Need for Speed Payback, there's more visual feedback for where you need to go. There's arrows where you're supposed to turn, and there are checkpoints, and so it's just easier for me to play. Now, I don't know. Both are fun games. Of course, Need for Speed Payback is like playing. I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie, but I assume
gotta be like
basically a Fast and Furious movie. So I know, Lucas, you like racing games. Have you played either of these?
I've played Burnout Paradise. We need another Burnout.
We do.
Classic Burnout. It's been too long.
So I know I've asked you in Discord before. Have you jumped on Wreckfest?
No, I am familiar with it. It's just that game never goes under like $25, I feel like. So I'm always like hesitant to pull the trigger on that one.
I wonder.
Have you played it?
I have not yet. I don't have a gaming PC, but it comes to PlayStation later this month. So I'm almost wondering if with the launch on PlayStation, where it's launching for $40, if it'll launch, maybe there will be a good Steam sale around that
once
time.
It's finally out or whatever.
Or Humble
So there are some of the developers from Burnout are on Wreckfest.
Okay.
It's a different, it's not, Burnout Paradise was kind of an outlier anyway, this open world thing.
Yeah, it wasn't really like any of the other Burnouts.
Right.
I mean, in the sense that they didn't even have crash mode, which was the best.
Well, They don't, but you do have, if you're going down and you crash and you push the R1 and L1 buttons, it kind of morphs into rec mode.
Yeah, that's true.
Flip around. But anyway, so Wreckfest, I mean, it's more track racing, which is what I'm more interested in anyway. But it still has that damage model that games like Forza and Gran Turismo and Need for Speed, like none of these games, like the car manufacturers, I guess, don't want you to damage their cars.
Yeah.
And where Wreckfest and Burnout were all made up cars. So it doesn't matter how much you mangle them. So do you want to, if we're going to talk about streamers and YouTubers or whatever, there's a guy on YouTube called Ed Soundhead. I don't know what his channel is, but if you search Soundhead and Wreckfest, he does, I think every week he does a Wreckfest video using the different mods. And so they have like classic cool. NASCAR mods. And,
I see him.
And they have, like in his videos, he'll pick a race and then we'll race it until he beats it. And so like there was one I think last week where it was a figure 8. So it's a cars just going back and forth and crossing in the middle. And there was a giant pendulum swinging through the middle.
Oh,
so just all the cars explode and go everywhere. I don't think, sadly, that's going to make it into the PS4 version, but
yeah,
probably not.
But I've been looking forward to it for a while, and glad it's finally coming. And Burnout has made me more excited for it.
I feel like that's the future of games like Burnout, is having that user base who can mod the game and give it that life that it needs. Because it seems like the games that have a huge modder base are the ones that stick around and have some lasting power.
Oh, yeah. For
So,
sure.
I mean, Wreckfest, and it was released pretty early access, but it's been out for like 3 years on PC.
I was going to say, it's been around for a while.
Maybe even since 2014. 14 or 15. I don't know. It's been out for a while. Okay, so that's what I'm playing. And then Ultimate Alliance 3, I just... I got through the first section, and I'm in the second section where you're following Jessica Jones around as
okay,
she...
sure. Yeah, the Defenders level.
Yeah. So I enjoy it. I play it. I've only played it handheld so far, which is not how I thought I would play it.
Yep, sure. Me too.
And I like it, but I can see where if you played it for long sessions, it might get tiring. But I have only played it for short sections. So, and it is interesting the difference. A lot of the combat feels similar to each other, but the characters have enough variety in them, I guess.
Yeah, where they feel the same, but not exactly, because their special abilities and stuff are different.
So I don't know. I enjoy it so far. I like the spider people. I like being Spider-Man and Miles and Spider-Gwen.
There's enough to choose from, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, I think those are my 3 favorites so far. But I'm pretty early and don't have a lot of experience with any of them.
Yeah, and you're going to unlock a whole lot more people as you play through too, so I'm sure you'll find some if you experiment. So
I like it. It's what I wanted. It's a game where I can watch a Marvel movie and then feel like, I feel like playing Spider-Man for a little bit, and I can jump in Spider-Man, the Hulk or whomever.
Are you calling it wish fulfillment? Is that what you're saying?
Sure.
So Lucas, we gotta set another date and play more. I
gotta
help get you caught up. I'll put down Apex for a night and we'll play.
Okay, I was gonna say Jason will have it soon too, so we might be able to do a threesome because this ain't golf.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go.
So yeah, Lucas, your turn. What you got?
Okay.
What you been playing?
I played a VR game.
I saw you play the VR game.
Yeah, actually, technically, I played 2. One was Arizona Sunshine. I beat that game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to post that on YouTube so people can see me flail around like an idiot. I will say that streaming a VR game is the most taxing thing I've ever done on my system. It was just it's so chirpy and weird when
you said the most taxing thing you'd ever done. I thought you were talking about yourself personally. Like that's the most
that I've ever done.
I'm
just like
taxing thing.
Maybe on camera
streaming a VR game.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah, besides doing my taxes, that is the most taxing thing on my computer. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for that. Yeah. The other game that I played is actually a free one that I somehow stumbled on. I don't even remember how I came upon it, but people were talking about how good this game was for being free. It's called The Red Stair. And yes, basically. And what you do is you play as a private detective or yeah, I guess that's the best way I can put it. And you're stuck in an apartment building across from, or like an office building or something that's across from another apartment building. And you have these missions where you have to try to figure out which of these NPCs are the ne'er-do-well, the do-bad, the bad guy.
Yes, it's described officially as in the Red Stair, you become a special agent in the 1950s New York City on a stakeout. The Reds have infiltrated the city, and you need to stop them before it's too late.
What year does this take place in?
1950s. During your stakeout, you'll be observing your neighbor's every move to find out who of them is the commie spy.
Exactly. I should have just did that. So I heard it was pretty good, so I tried it out. And here's the thing. So you have my one mission that I played was that somebody had put propaganda, communist like propaganda or slander or whatever, libel, on somebody's window. And you're trying to figure out who in this apartment building did that to this senator, I think it was, which I thought it was weird that a senator was living in an apartment, but like whatever.
Slum apartments, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you watch these people and you got to figure out, you're given clues and you got to figure out who did what and why. There were some footprints that I could see that had red paint that was used in the crime. Then I find these paint buckets, and then there's somebody who visited a hardware store and bought a ladder, and the only reason why this person remembers what they kind of look like. And so I don't know, but basically the crux of the game is you take pictures of what you see and you send it via fax to a handler, and then they call you on a telephone, which you pick up, and they'll tell you what the information you give them means to them. And so I don't know if you can be wrong, like if the game lets you accidentally finger the wrong person for the crime. But as far as I know, I did it right. So I figured out who it was based on basically what I've already told you. Those things, as long as who lives where and who owns certain items like construction hats or helmets or whatever, and the types of stuff that drew conclusions and were evidence in the case.
I find it funny that in the 1950s they had fax machines and like Polaroid cameras, but yet they have rotary phones.
I don't know. I didn't make the game.
No, and again, it does look cool though. It looks good. It looks fun.
It's actually not really as good as I would have thought.
Oh, really? It's 9 out of 10 on Steam right now.
I think it's because it's free. It's not a bad game. It's actually an interesting concept. I think it just needs money behind it, because what I was expecting, and maybe it's in other missions, but what I was expecting was to be watching the actual people and what they were doing and who looked suspicious. But it was more about looking for objects, and like the closest I got to that was somebody wearing a leather jacket. You had to find a person wearing a leather jacket. But I wasn't actually watching anyone commit any crimes or do anything. So like the actual NPC engagement, they seem very robotic and just kind of like window dressing almost. Sure. It's very much they just kind of repeat the same stuff over and over. So
it is a student game. So it was a student developed game. So it wasn't even by somebody out of college yet, like for game design. So I think you gotta give it a little leeway there.
I do.
But it won a bunch of awards.
I totally do.
Best technical student game. No, it was nominated for that, but it won best student game design and best student art direction in 2017.
Oh, that's cool. And
by the Dutch Game Awards. So.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know. Like just the voice acting is a little iffy. All that stuff, like what you mentioned, you would expect from this. So I think with a little bit more money behind it, it could do well. The concept is there. It just needs to do a little bit more. And then these last two games that I played are actually because I was playing games with my son. We have a system down where he earns game time basically. And unfortunately, we'd had a string of late nights where we had to like get him in there were a couple nights he didn't even take a bath. But usually he would take a bath at night and then he'd play games for 30 minutes or whatever and then go to bed. And so we actually had to stack some of that time up on one day where we actually were home.
And he played for 5 hours straight.
That's right. And he was like, I don't want to play anymore. And I said, you earned this time. Okay. You got to play. So he was playing kind of the usual stuff, but he looked like he wanted to play something else, something new. And he saw some of the games because we're using the Steam link. So it's in the big screen mode where you can see all the games that you own. They almost look like box covers. And so he saw some other things and he wanted to try them out. And one of them, after we had played one of his usuals, he was like, I want to play something else. I said, well, let's
5.
Yes, exactly. He's like, I've ran over enough hookers. Let's do something else. I saw this game that I got on What Else, Humble Bundle, called Flat Heroes, because I wanted to find something colorful, vibrant, and easy for him to follow, and obviously with something that was appropriate for his age. Sure. And I didn't even know what it was. I just clicked on it based on what the art looked like. So in Flat Heroes, what you do basically is you exist inside of this large square arena, and it's up to 4 players cooperatively that play as squares that you basically have to roll around, but they roll about as well as a square you would think would roll.
Sure. Okay.
But you can jump, you can grip onto walls. The movement is kind of like Super Meat Boy, if you're familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Very smooth, very, very easy to pick up, but difficult to master. So you can boost. I wouldn't call it a double jump, but you can boost in any direction after you jump. So you press A to jump, and press A again, and you can, whatever direction you push, you'll boost when you hit the A button again. And the whole point is to avoid danger in the form of lasers. There's these like tracker bombs that just kind of, once you get close to them, they come near you. There's falling spikes that come from any direction, really. They can come from behind you or below you, to the sides or above you. And you just have to survive for a certain amount of time. Most of them are like 10 seconds or less, usually even less than that, like 5-6 seconds. And all you have to do is have one of the people in your group survive, and you can move on to the next level. And he loved this game. I was not expecting that.
I'm watching a video. It looks cool.
He laughs because he feels like he's being chased around, and he loves to like play tag right now and stuff. So he loves that feeling of almost getting caught and stuff. And he actually he won some of the levels, especially the earlier ones where they weren't quite as difficult.
Sure.
I would accidentally die, and he would be the only one left.
He saves you.
Yeah, he saved me. So there were a handful of times that he was able to complete the level. And you play 14 levels, and then on the last level, there's a boss. And the first one, I think, was pretty simple. I don't even remember. I think it just chases you around and tries to hit you. The second one was more like a snake boss, where it drew a line behind it.
I saw that in the video. I was watching the video of it. Yeah.
So it would try to trap you, and if it hit you with its head, it would kill you. But what I didn't know is you can actually jump on the line. The line doesn't kill you. So you have to defeat that one, you had to get it to hit itself like you would in the snake game.
Oh, okay.
When you like game over or whatever. And then the third one was like the circle that had rings around it, and it would spit out almost like barrels basically. And you had to jump over them. Then it would spit out grenades. You had to get to the other side of the stage before they blew up. Then it would finally allow you to like hit it once, then repeat the whole thing, only it gets a little bit more complicated each time. So there's a bit of variety there for how many levels there are per each world. I think there's 10 worlds, 15 levels each. That's a lot of content. And I wasn't expecting to have as much fun as I did, but I don't know if this is on Switch, but it would fit perfectly there for that type of gameplay and on the fly gameplay. So yeah, really fun. Cool that it was local co-op, and we had a lot of fun with that. And then the last game that we tried out, because
it is on Switch.
Is it?
For anybody wondering, it is on Switch.
I felt like it. If it wasn't, it definitely needed to be. Flat Heroes is the name of that one.
Flat Heroes came out August 1st of last year, so it's been out for a while on Switch.
Well, then it probably goes on sale.
Probably it's $10 full price.
So it'll go on sale for $9.50.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I would pick it up for $7.50. Okay. I'd probably pick it up for $10 if it's this kind of game. When I played it, I was like, this is a Jason game. You know, he liked geometry wars.
Oh, yeah, totally. So actually, Donnie likes that too. So Donnie, Flat Heroes. You'd
probably
enjoy it.
It's a great one to play with the family because all you do is jump. We did discover there's a button that allows you to do this like red pulse, and you do use that in certain situations. Okay. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but there was even more.
Does it like deflect things, like coming towards you?
It deflects things. Okay. Sometimes you have to kill the enemy. Well, enemies, the shapes. Boxes. Yeah. Or like bounce them away from you or whatever. So yeah, there is a little bit more depth to it than you would think. So the last game that him and I tried out was Yooka-Laylee, and that's because he really likes Mario, and we can't just keep playing Mario all the time. He's already bored with Sunshine. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this Yooka-Laylee. Everyone talks about how terrible this game is. How bad can it really be? So we booted it up, and I played like the first level, and I haven't played a lot of it, but it looks really good actually. It's a very colorful and cutesy looking game. Definitely looks like a rare game, you know, in the modern age.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is that it lacks that flair that most Nintendo games have. They make every little thing that you do cute or fun or whimsical, you know, and so when you collect things, I don't even think there was a special noise for collecting the money or anything like that.
Oh.
It just, everything kind of felt a little bit drab compared to the visuals and everything. So, you know, in Mario, you pick up a star and it plays this cinematic where you hold it up or whatever, and it looks really cool. And it makes everything an event. Here, there wasn't as much of that. And I think that's just a holdover from older games where that wasn't really possible.
Right.
It wasn't really part of the game design. So I'll play a little bit more of it. It wasn't horrible, but I can just see if you went from Mario to this, you'd be like,
what the heck?
Yeah, I don't know about that. So
I do need to play it because I am a fan of Banjo-Kazooie, which a lot of the same team worked on this.
The music is
well, that's good too.
Isn't that Grant Kirkhope? I think is the guy who did the original and came over and did this for.
I'm pretty sure it's true. Jacob Rush from Nintendo Nostalgia is screaming at the podcast right now if we're wrong because he's a big fan of Banjo and he enjoyed Yooka, and I have told him I do need to play it. And I just
realized, so the characters are named Yooka and Laylee.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's an instrument called a Yooka-Laylee.
Yes. Very good.
You just put that together?
I was joking. Yeah.
No, I got you.
And I got it free. I don't know if you got it the same way. I got it from the Epic Store. They put it for like one of their weekly ones for free. It was this, so I snagged it. So I do have it. I just haven't played it yet.
You know, they were originally going to name it Har and Monica, but Har didn't really do well in the test. Har. Monica, you know, that's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I will say that it gets a little annoying that there's no voice acting. I mean,
there's none at all.
No, it just goes.
What do
they think? Like Banjo.
What do they think they are? Legend of Zelda?
I was about to say the same thing.
Kidding.
Come on.
No voices.
Link, wake up. I don't need to hear Zelda. I'm sorry. We've talked about this before. Zelda, terrible voice acting. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I am with you. Make her silent like Link. That's fine.
That's right. Nobody needs.
Just trying to keep all the ladies silent.
Pretty much.
Oh, basically.
I mean,
now we're gonna be on a.
Well, I mean, look at it this way. The man was sleeping. They woke the man up from his slumber. They make him go and do chores. He's got to go run around and do all this stuff. And what is she doing meanwhile? Oh, only fending off the face of evil while waiting for Link to get there. Yeah.
Wait, there was a story in that game?
You had to go find it. It wasn't given to you. You had to search for it. So I got one of the memories. So I have no idea what the game was ultimately. So I'm just making it up.
It sounded believable.
Yeah, you know. All right, so that wraps up what we've been playing. We're gonna jump into the messages for the week. We did not ask for any, and that's specifically because we've been ignoring. Lucas and I have been ignoring the same one for like 3 weeks now, so we are gonna get to that. So it's time to check the messages.
Message for you, sir.
This one comes from @VoiceEd by Nathan. he wants us to initially we were going to give an example of each one, but I think that's too hard, so we'll give like a couple examples of these. But he wants us to name some movies, novels, comics, and Broadway plays that we would like to see adapted as games. What makes them good candidates? What genre of game would it be? And what studio would you like to see make it? We'll save a second half for after. So Seth, you were pondering this whilst at the playground earlier today, so why don't you give us some of your ideas first?
All right, so for number one, or first one, for whatever reason that jumped to my mind, was The Man in the High Castle.
Ooh.
Which is both covers a book and a TV show. Mm-hmm. And I have read the book and watched the TV show. And the book's it's quite a bit different. Of course, when you take a 150-page book and adapt it into a TV show over 3 seasons and 30 episodes or whatever, it goes a lot more into a lot of different areas. But anyway, I really like The Man in the High Castle. The concept of almost similar to Wolfenstein a little bit,
sure.
Where it's we're in the I think it's the 60s.
I think so.
The 60s, and it's as if Germany and Japan won World War II, and now they occupy the United States and basically control the world. And I just like that setting, the narrative setting of that. And I was thinking of a narrative adventure like Detroit or Until Dawn. How in The Man in the High Castle, there are some main characters, but there are a lot of different main characters, and they're all in different spots, and then occasionally they intersect and weave in and out. I feel like combining, like Until Dawn, or like with the Dark Pictures anthology, I don't know how you say, The Man of Medan.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That thing, yep. The idea where it's going to be multiplayer even, and if the three of us were playing it all together, I might see different scenes than you'll see, and then eventually all our stories will weave together. Mm-hmm. So something maybe not that intricate, but just with multiple main characters in a narrative adventure story that you can kind of shape what that narrative would be. Of course, in The Man in the High Castle, it's this alternate reality from our reality where the main characters are oppressed by the Germans and by the Japanese, and then they find these tapes, or in the book, it's these pamphlets or books written by the man in the high castle that tell of what actually happened, in our real world, the American and the British side winning and what really happened. And so there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. So
that's pretty cool.
I don't know if you wanted me to go down the rest of mine, or we wanted to bounce around.
Yeah, give us another one. Let's do 2 each if we have them, and then we'll go there. So pick your other best one you got on there.
Okay, so my other I'm going to cheat and mention one, but not talk about it, and then talk about my other one.
Okay.
I want an Indiana Jones game, and I want Naughty Dog to make it. I realize Uncharted is like Indiana Jones, but
that's fine.
I like Indiana
I agree.
Jones. I want that. So the other one, musical, Sweeney Todd, the Demon Bark of Fleet Street, developed by Don't Nod, like Vampire, that vampire game where you're a vampire and you go around and you have to infect the different people or not infect them. So you could be Sweeney Todd and go around and either collect poor folks for your butcher shop, or I don't know what the choice there would be, but I don't know. That was kind of my musical. When it said Broadway musical, that's for whatever reason popped in my head.
That's a really good one though.
And in that style, I haven't played Vampire or however you say that, but I've watched some gameplay and just kind of that sort of gameplay style kind of made me think of it. So
absolutely.
That's it.
All right, I'll give one that I like the best, and I'll pass it to Lucas and see if I can settle on what else I want to talk about. The one that first came to my mind is also a hybrid of movies and novels. I'd love to see some Stephen King movies and books adapted into a game. Unfortunately, I wish I went first, just like Seth said, by the developers of Until Dawn Supermassive Games. I'd love to see their take on like it with a new story, not necessarily like the same iteration, because we're seeing the movies now, but if you continue that story, that if it came back, you know, you play as the narrative-driven game of all these different people being hunted by it, Pennywise and whatnot, and if you did like The Shining and stuff like that as a collective thing to kind of live through these games and that type of narrative with their graphics, because they do a great job with the way things look to character models, voice acting, like they really put that care in these type of narrative-driven games. So I'd love to see some Stephen King horror stuff done in kind of the good way that we could appreciate, more like the books, less like the movies, because the movies kind of always seem to fall apart at some point, or there's some campiness to it. I like to see them kind of give their normal take like they did with Until Dawn and make a really cool game out of that.
Yeah. And they're Stephen King, like they're doing, I forget if it's Supermassive, that's the developer, where they're doing the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yes, that's
the Stephen King, you know, universe. A lot of his books and works all connect to each other in different ways. So you could easily do some sort of ongoing series like that. I'm actually almost surprised he hasn't ventured into.
I'm really surprised as well. I'm wondering kind of why, because you really think he would at this point. I mean, he does everything else at this point. He's done TV. He's done, you know, everything else. To me, it would make sense.
I really like Stephen King. One of my other favorite authors is his son, Joe Hill, and he released an
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill, yeah. He released a book on vinyl. So it's an audio, and I know there were audio recordings and vinyl recordings from before, but that was the main way he released this story, was on vinyl, which was kind of neat. So anyway, I think it runs in the family, that experimentation.
Sure. So Lucas, why don't you give us one or two of yours while I ponder which one I want to settle on.
I got a couple, but I want to say this first. I always thought, this isn't one of them, but I always thought the Hunger Games would have made a perfect, like, it doesn't have to have Everdeen Katniss, but this was before the Battle Royale genre came around, and I was like, that. I'm like, this is a game. Like, I'm reading a game right now.
I'm with you. I've always thought that, and that was one that was on my list, so I obviously won't pick that one then, because that was one that was on my list too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm glad we agree then.
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
I got an easy, low-hanging fruit here. I want another Jurassic Park game. It's time. It's overdue. We need Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs are always in style. I don't care who you are. Dinosaurs. You got the dark environments with, you know, power going out, or you're on some jungle island, some sort of secluded place. You know, with the new movies coming out, they did well. So you think, I don't want a movie tie-in. I want an original story, but I would at least think that would have garnered some kind of.
Well, they did. They had that Jurassic Park.
Park maker,
Park
basically,
builder.
right?
Yeah. Which
cool.
I know isn't what you're talking about.
That's a sim. Yeah, it's a sim game versus like a
survival
adventure
horror
story
is
game.
what I want.
Yeah. Well,
I want Resident Evil 2 remake as a Jurassic Park game.
Ooh, that's really
Turok just came out on the Switch.
Yeah, that's true. And I you know, nothing beats shooting a dinosaur with a bow and arrow, but
or a monkey with a cerebral bore.
What a ridiculous. And I would love it if Visceral Games made. Oh wait, they're not around anymore.
Well, it's hypothetical. They come back to make this game.
I will. That's their comeback story.
Yep.
Is they come back to make Jurassic Park.
Comeback.
Okay, it's their what do you call it when it's a comeback, but you can't call it a comeback? A return of the Jedis. The second game or book series, comic, whatever, is a comic. And are you familiar with the Saga comics?
Mm-hmm.
I think this would make a really awesome RPG. And the reasons are because it's got a fleshed out.
Caroline would love it. It would be a Caro game.
It could be. It depends, because
I feel like it would be in that style.
It's a bit it's a bit more. I don't want to call it serious, but it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's not quite like Kingdom Hearts or anything. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be that. But it's got a fleshed out history. There's plenty of worlds, sort of like Star Wars. They go to certain worlds and they have a kind of theme to them or look. And Saga has amazing characters, and I think that's what an RPG always needs.
Absolutely.
who's going to make this? None other than Square Enix. I know it's not really a JRPG style game. I don't think it would work in that sense.
Yeah.
But, they have some other games that I think show that they could do something like this. And there's enough history in that world that I think it doesn't have to follow the main characters of that comic. So.
Okay. That's good. So I settled on my last one, and I was torn about putting this on the list, and I actually had it listed as a book because it is a book as well, but it's also on Broadway. And I kind of keep forgetting that Broadway doesn't necessarily have to be a musical. Like, there's Broadway plays.
Yeah.
And it's Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And it's because there's yet to be a good Harry Potter game ever made. So we got to remember, like, when the Harry Potter games came out, when the movies were out, like, that was in the day where video games like would put out a game for like every movie, and they were never good. It was just licensed garbage. And a lot of those games weren't that great. I think EA was doing them all, not to point the blame at EA, but they were, pumping these games out every time a movie came out. So it was like every other year.
They had the money to snap up those licenses. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The Lego games were okay, but even the Lego games, there were some pretty bad Lego Harry Potter games. That was like, unfortunately, the Lego Indiana Jones games, like, those were also not good. But it's because they were the
Lego Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but they were
probably just the IP.
Right, and it was the earlier Lego games, like, before they started doing a lot of things they do now with, like, some of the voiceovers and, like, the humor. Like, it was more just play through this level and it's telling the story of the thing, so it wasn't as good back then. But I'd like to see them do that in an adventure game style. It doesn't have to be like a narrative driven per se, but kind of just maybe something along the lines of almost like a Skyrim. And I don't mean like in the fact of the combat, but to be like that first person, make your way through Hogwarts, go through these different things, take the classes, level up your character that way. I think it'd be cool to kind of see it done in that type of style.
So basically you're saying you want a Hogwarts edition of Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Man, I want it to be good. I'm just kidding. I haven't played Fire Emblem. We knock it, but I bet it's actually pretty good.
I'm sure it's great too.
So the second half is question. We'll just take one answer from here because we're already kind of running a little long here. What game do you think would be well adapted as a Netflix or HBO type series? And if you have some specific cast members or directors, throw that out there as well. We'll go in the same order. So Seth, you can go first.
That would be perfect game that would make a great Netflix series. Stranger Things 3, the game.
The game, the show. That's like Street Fighter, the movie, the game. Which was an excellent game, by the way.
My real answer, the two other answers that I had were both surprisingly westerns. So SteamWorld, Dig, animated, and I wrote SteamWorld could be a fun animated series. Choose either Dig or Heist as the setting. Probably Dig. That's the more popular.
Would that work as a kids series or not so much?
I think it could.
It could, like a TV, like a Y7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Series. Or like I don't know if you watched the Carmen Sandiego series on Netflix.
Yeah, where it's like that.
Yeah. I've seen
something like that kind of level, for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
I guess 7 to up, and the voice cast, because it's kind of this Western sci-fi-ish kind of thing. Voice cast, Sam Elliott has to be a Western. He's the guy with the big bushy mustache.
Yep.
Older guy. Sam Elliott. Casey Affleck.
No. The better Affleck.
Yeah. Who I really liked. The only thing that I've seen him in a couple things, but I always think of him as Robert Ford in the Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford from 2007, which is probably my favorite Western, more modern Western. So Casey Affleck as a voice, Nathan Fillion as a voice, and
yes.
Marina Baccarin. I don't know how you say her name, but she's from Firefly. She's Inara in Firefly, and she's been in other things too. She was in that Batman show, Gotham.
She looks familiar.
Yeah. Yep.
And I wrote no clue on director, Joss Whedon, ? Of course, Joss Whedon directed Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
And
does he do anything besides just make money constantly?
Pretty much.
Oh.
So I don't know, that would be kind of I think that could be a really fun, like, animated series and have some fun people. I won't even touch on the other one. Your guys' turn.
Okay. So I'll go with my next one, and I would like to see a Watch Dogs TV series.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yep. And I want the main character to take actually the main character from Watch Dogs 2 specifically, so Aiden Pierce, if you recall Watch Dogs 2, and I want him to be played by Donald Glover.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun. Kind of, you can do it as like a drama type series. Like it'll have some comedy, obviously, because the games do too. But it would be more like a thriller type game. Movie. Sorry.
What was that show where it was a group? Oh man, I'm sorry. I realized as I was bringing it up. It was a show of a group of people who were hired to basically steal things back that have been stolen or stuff like that. And it was like there was a tech guy, there was
Scorpion?
a girl. No, it was a TV show, and it was on. Gosh darn it. It was like Take Backers, or I don't remember. But anyways, it reminds me a little bit of that. Because they had a hacker, they had a tough guy, they had a face, basically the guy who would set up the deals. And knowing what I know of what little I've played of Watch Dogs 2, they have that group where one's like the art PR person and one's like the hacker mechanist person. Gosh, it's gonna bug me. What I'm gonna look this up and then I'll just.
There's
scream
one
it
called
out loud.
Leverage.
Leverage.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. You win another bottle of sweat. I'll get it in the mail for you.
Score. So I'm not sure who else in the cast, and I don't think you have to follow all the same people from the game. As long as you have like Aiden Pierce to be that main character, you can design another story, and just be in the Watch Dogs universe. Like this is what he does after the game, kind of deal. And make it I'd like a series. I don't want just a movie. I think it could be an ongoing thing, much like Lucas is describing. As far as like writing or directing, I feel like I'd want somebody like a James Gunn to give it kind of a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, where it can have the action, it can have the thrills, but also have that humor twist to it. And Watch Dogs is also very much about the music, and James Gunn does a lot of that in his movies and stuff like that, and he writes a lot of his own stuff too. Or the Russo brothers as well, to give some like Avengers type high tech feel, have some fun. Or if you want to go old school, bring back the Wachowskis, whatever, from the Matrix guys.
Oh wow!
Let's bring them back.
Girls, the Matrix guys.
Yeah.
But
I mean, his at the time brother at the time was a girl first, and then her brother at the time also came over. So
which one are you talking about?
I don't remember. We
should probably stop.
But I mean, they could undo it. They could undo it and come back as the brothers again, right? Like it's non-binary. I want the non-binary Wachowski.
Oh, are you saying sexuality is fluid? Because I have heard that before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go with that. But that's my pick. I want a Watch Dogs TV series. I think that'd be awesome.
All right.
So Lucas, your pick.
Okay. Bear with me now. This might be a real grasp here at straws, but Mass Effect. Have you guys ever heard of this?
I believe I've heard of it. I don't know if I've ever played one or two of them or three of them or four of them before, possibly. I'm not sure.
Or the multiplayer. Yeah. Mass Effect. Come on, guys. Like, it's just, I mean, it basically already is a show. That's why everybody loves it. You've got the characters, you've got the world. Obviously, I'm a big sci-fi guy, so that doesn't, I mean, that's clearly affecting my choices here. But get a Chris Pratt in there. You got to have the funny guy.
Yeah.
Get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because everybody loves him, and he would play well off Chris Pratt. Have they been in a movie together?
Sounds like an awful Mass Effect story.
No, you need people who are likable. It can't be too serious.
I don't know if they've ever done anything together.
We don't need it to be a DC crap fest where everything's gritty and dark and directed by Zack Snyder.
Mass Effect is a series about
the struggles of
terrestrial beings who return every 150 millennia and destroy the world.
Well, the good ones are, and then they made the other one that kind of threw all that out of the window.
Yeah. Well, and no one knows what that one's about.
That's true, because nobody played it all the way through. I know I didn't. I tried. It wasn't for lack of trying.
Now that I have EA access, I could play that, but I probably won't.
I don't know. Do you like doing random quests all over all different planets and they don't have any real story meaning whatsoever?
And you have to have loading screens for 2 minutes between each of them.
Yes, that is required. Actually, this series would have loading screens before. That would be the title sequence. It would just be a loading bar.
There we go.
And Andy Serkis, because there's going to be a character who's an alien, so we need
you need it. Yeah.
Awesome mocap guy or something, and he can do a voice.
Is he even a real person anymore? I feel like he's been around forever.
I feel like
I've never seen him, so he's just always a digital.
He doesn't leave the house. He just mocaps. And then, shoots it out across the galaxy, or at least across the Earth. Now bear with me on this director choice. It's a little bit crazy. Alfonso Cuarón.
I don't know
he
who
did
that is.
Gravity, and Roma. More recently, Roma. So a very character-driven story and a sci-fi, very cinematographic movie about space.
And I mean, and we laughed. Well, Seth particularly laughed about Chris Pratt being in there, but he did. What was that one he did with
Passengers?
Is that the one with the chick from Hunger Games?
Yeah, it was really. Yeah. I liked it. I mean, I was gonna say it's really good, but it's good.
It was good, and the art style was like really cool, and it was a space odyssey type.
Yeah, and he wasn't.
Thing, and he was good in that.
He wasn't, Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
No, I like Chris Pratt. It was just like the combination of Chris Pratt and The Rock.
And Dwayne Rock, yeah. But they would play off. I mean,
I guess Dwayne. So The Rock could be have him in some makeup. He could be Rex, the Krogan.
Yeah. There you go. See, go. I wouldn't want him to be the lead guy because that's too obvious of a choice.
No,
but he could be like a Drax or Rex. Rex. It is. But I'm thinking of Drax the Destroyer. Yeah, that would be the role that he would play in. I would say. But you would need more serious actors, and as well. But let's face it, there's going to be like 30 recurring characters in this Mass Effect Odyssey. So, I mean, take your pick. We'll probably, you can find somebody to.
If it's a sci-fi TV series, Katie Sackhoff is probably in it somewhere.
Is she Star?
Yeah.
Starbucks coffee.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the tough girl. If you need a tough girl in the sci-fi universe, you get Katie. Old Kate.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right, so thank you, Nathan, for sending that in. We appreciate it. If you ever want to send in questions to have us either answer serious like we did tonight or mock you for your question like we do most of the time, you could either drop in our Discord and let us know, or you could tweet at us at PSVG Kevin, and I will add it to the show, and we will do so. But it's been a week, so it's time to check out the news of the week.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite news outlet on the Citadel.
I will go first here.
Okay.
Big news in the gaming thing that I actually kind of forgot about until I was looking for news. And I'm like, oh, wait, this was kind of a big deal. Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony are going to require loot box odds disclosure. Also, Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, EA, Ubisoft, Wizards of the Coast, and other publishers will also comply. So basically, they're being mandated now by law that they have to disclose the odds of loot boxes going forward. They do have some time to make these changes, basically no later than the end of 2020 is what the console manufacturers are targeting to do, as well as the other publishers done there. But yeah, due to the attention the FTC has on this, self-regulations within the ESA, they're basically making it happen before, law gets passed and basically forces it. So they're voluntarily agreeing, saying, hey, okay, we're going to do this before the government basically mandates them, so they look kind of a little bit better.
That's probably good. I mean, like, that's how the ESRB kind of got started. So
exactly.
I think it needs to happen.
It's a good move. However, I will say it's a little weaker than I was hoping, because so you're just giving the odds. So you kind of already
never tell me the odds.
Well, but like you look and you're like, all right, I want to buy this loot box for Apex because I really want this skin. Well, I have a 1 in 20,000 chance of getting this skin. That's
not going to stop anybody.
Right. I don't think it's going to stop most people in that case. You might divert some, but I think if they go the route that Rocket League just announced that they did, and they got a lot of good PR about it, was they're just going to tell you basically you can buy this specific item for X amount and no more loot boxes at all. Like, you want this stuff? Okay, you can. Now, Who knows? Maybe that skin for Apex I really want is going to cost me $15, but at least I'll know and I can make that decision saying, okay, if I really want this and I want to spend $15, I know I'm going to get it. I'm not going to buy 5 loot boxes for, whatever, $3 a piece and not get it after all that. At least knowing what I'm buying, I'd feel a little bit better about, but it's a start.
Yeah. I always liked the idea of loot boxes, but when you monetize the whole thing, it doesn't feel as as good. It just feels like they're taking advantage of you. Yeah. But I don't mind the idea of like unlockable randomized content. It kind of makes it fun. The problem is when they make it like you get the same skin 5 times that you can't use or whatever. And by skin I mean like sprayable graffiti that nobody ever uses or whatever. Right. It's never a voice pack or something nobody ever uses. No. And I mean, even if it was just they're still going to use loot boxes, but they don't make them, they don't monetize them. I'd feel better. Like, hey, if you can earn loot boxes in game and then it's random, okay, I don't care. But if you're actually paying money, there should be some sort of disclosure.
And Need for Speed Payback, the after you do certain things, you get speed cards, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so some of the items that you can unlock are things like what color the underglow of your vehicle is, and the color of the smoke that comes out of your exhaust, or the color of your tire smoke. Like, I didn't even notice my tires had smoke color, and you could pay real money for those, which.
Yeah.
That's where it gets kind of sad. Like, I gotta have the green smoke coming out of my tires. That shouldn't be. I can understand skins. Like, I want to have this specific skin to my car applied, livery, whatever you call it. Yeah. That I can understand. Make it $5. At least you're getting that thing instead of paying $15 to get 8 other things different smoke colors that you're not going to use.
That are all gray.
Yeah, exactly. Different shades, 50 shades of gray, actually.
Oh, nobody wants to pay for that.
So. Yeah. Take it back.
But yeah, so once again, I think overall, I think we kind of all in agreement here. It's a good PR move by all of them to make the move first before mandated, but I think they're still going to get more, I feel. Like, I feel like the lawmakers aren't going to settle for just that. I think they're going to want to push for a little bit more. Yes, it's a good start. So that's it for that one. So, Lucas, what you got?
Yeah, so I saw this on PC Gamer, and it's had me slightly excited. Death Stranding is no longer listed as a PlayStation 4 exclusive. And basically what they're saying is, does this mean that it may come out on the PC eventually? Mm-hmm. Which, I could see that. It excites me. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the thing about these games with these, especially PlayStation exclusives, I'm always like, oh, that's never going to come to anything that I own. So
right, sure,
I have no chance of playing this. But Metal Gear Solid, Phantom Pain, that game, and that went well. That was a fairly good port. So, maybe it'll happen. Maybe we'll get Death Stranding, and I can see what's his name holding the baby fetus and crying or whatever.
Norman Reedus.
Norman.
I like this idea, and I think it's very possible. And I think some people right off the bat was like, well, it's going to come to all consoles, or at least it's going to come to Xbox. And I still think while Sony is playing nicer, they're not quite there yet. They'll allow it to go to PC because they can still make money on it, but we got to remember that PlayStation helped fund this game, so it's a little bit different of being like, hey, we paid to have this exclusive. Like, no. PlayStation bankrolled for this. Yeah. Like, they gave him the money to set up a studio and start to work exclusively for them. So I can see him doing it to PC. Now, I think here's the big question, though. So if this is coming to PC, it's got to be kind of a big announcement somewhere. Is this a Stadia exclusive, or is this an Epic Store exclusive based on the history of stuff we're seeing happen?
That's a good question. Yeah. What about a Steam exclusive?
Ain't gonna happen.
No, yeah, nobody cares about that. They're just like, oh, okay. Yeah.
They're just mad it's not on Steam.
Yeah, I mean that would be the most obvious thing, right? Would be some probably Epic Games Store.
I think
you can't ignore the amount of money that they allow you to take. That's just dumb. Why would you give away money by going to Steam? Nobody cares.
And I mean,
in the long run, no one cares.
Right, and they're giving money back to the developers in a much larger portion than Steam does.
And I've never thought of that, but when a developer decides that they want to bring their game to the PC platform, Now what they're really saying is, are we going to bring it to Steam? Because in the old days, it was just like, are we going to print off a DVD-ROM for you to install this game? And Steam wasn't even really a thing.
Sure.
Now it's just like, what's the digital platform we're going with here?
Yep.
That's crazy to me.
And you say, Seth, so you're the PlayStation guy, so this is potentially
we're encroaching on your territory
for one of the last exclusives they're looking at least in the PS4 realm, that it's potentially not exclusive.
There's been a lot of talk about other games, PlayStation games, potentially making their way over to PC. I forget what there was one that did. I don't remember what it is now, but not a big game, but a smaller one. It doesn't really matter, and it's not like Kojima Studios is an internal PlayStation, Sony-owned studio. It's like a second-party relationship. So it's very, very likely they might have a console-exclusive contract, and I can't imagine even the PC one, if it's coming, would be day and date with
That's
PS4.
true.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a certain amount of months.
But yeah, I mean, that's, I'm, part of the reason I'm with PlayStation is because they have, I like the PlayStation ecosystem and controller and so forth, but they generally have exclusives that I'm really interested in. Except, Death Stranding, looks very interesting. I really don't know that I'm going to play it. I don't know that I'm going to play Last of Us 2 or the Samurai game, just because I've kind of moved toward different games at this point. So it's not, I don't know, it doesn't impact me. The more people that get to play games, good.
Well, I hope we hear some. Apparently, we'll hear from Hideo Kojima on August 19th at
Gamescom, right?
Gamescom. So, if something is going to happen, maybe
it's
there.
going to be. I think it's going to be announced there. Yeah, because you're not looking at.
Be there.
Because Sony may have their, what they call Days of Play, Seth, or what is their the one that they have later in the year, typically their own exclusive.
The PlayStation Experience.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow, we stole that name right from them, huh? Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So if and when they do the PlayStation Experience, this wouldn't be something that they would announce there, because they're not gonna say like, hey, this game that's exclusive to us is also showing up somewhere else.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Where else is Kojima gonna say it other than potentially like either a Game Awards or at Gamescom? It makes the most sense.
He and Jeff Keighley are buddy, friends. He's announced a number of things on Jeff Keighley's stage.
Yeah. So I think it could happen there.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll see.
We shall. To take things down a little bit of a, I don't want to say darker turn, but any listener here probably knows about the two recent mass shootings we had in Texas and Ohio recently, and the government immediately goes back to the old standby since the early 90s of blaming video games as a resource, including our own President Trump there. But with that being said, first, rumors had kind of popped out, but now it seems like some outlets have gotten copies of it that Walmart's distributing a circulation to tell employees to remove, turn off, or cancel a range of promotions, specifically consoles that show a demo of violent video games, signs referencing combat or third-person shooter video games, any events promoting these kinds of violent movies that might be playing in the electronics section, hunting season videos, and the sporting goods. Everything needs to be gone immediately. And I'm not a frequent Walmart. Do you go there out of necessity or just convenience? Like, you walk in and right away when you come through those doors, and they have like the security stands that beep if you have like the tag on. They always have those covers, and they're almost always of a video game or a movie, like Call of Duty or Destiny, and there's always the character with the big gun, and that's going away now. Just because I don't particularly like Walmart, there are millions and millions of people who clearly do. That is potentially a big marketing hit for, I think, a lot of places, especially with like Call of Duty coming out and, the Destiny expansion. Like, all those are typically things I would see in these Walmart flyers or stanchions or posters being up that are basically they're saying aren't going to be allowed anymore. Is Walmart, I guess my question to you guys, number one, I think we're kind of all in agreement here, possibly, that video games don't necessarily cause people to be violent like that. I find that argument to be ridiculous. They're just disturbed individuals, and regardless whether or not they played Grand Theft Auto, they were still disturbed. But regardless, what's your thoughts there? And is Walmart doing kind of the right thing here? Like, it seems like our society nowadays, we make fun of like the snowflake movement and like, oh, I was triggered, I was offended. Like, all right, if I was in one of those scenarios where these shootings happen and I survived, I would feel uneasy just walking into a Walmart. The fact that they have a poster of, Cade 6 from Destiny 2 holding a laser gun isn't going to trigger me. I think just being back in Walmart in the environment would. Are we just overreacting to these horrible events that happen in the wrong way? Not like, hey, Walmart, stop selling guns, but let's just stop even having pictures of guns. Seems kind of weird. Like, do they get rid of Nerf stuff now? All the Fortnite figures that they sell in the aisles, G.I. Joes, like, is all this stuff eventually going to go just because one stupid invention did a horrible act that we're not allowed to see them ever again, at least in a Walmart? Thoughts?
Well,
sorry, I took it deep. I know we're normally not deep.
No, that's okay. I didn't know who wanted to go first. I think, you know what? I think that this is a completely fine move. I don't need to see any of this stuff to know that these things exist. I can go online. I don't want to have to worry when my son's old enough to not so much depending on, like, if it's a character just standing there with a gun, that doesn't bother me as much. But a lot of the time, like the game demos and stuff like that should probably be limited to things that aren't necessarily violent. You don't need to see a violent video game to understand the power of the Switch or the PlayStation 4. I do think that I think depending on what the market is, the problem is you can't pick and choose. You either got to do it all or none. You can't just say, well, somebody has to go through and decide that that's too much, but that can stay and blah, blah, blah. So I think it does have to be an all or nothing. And unfortunately, it's just going to have to be all. It's just going to have to go away. I think that the sporting goods section part is a little much. Like, hunting is a thing that existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Like, taking that, like, I don't need to understand, or I don't need to explain to my son why that person. I don't have to feel bad about explaining to my son about why somebody decides to hunt, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Just put on Bambi.
Yes, exactly. I do have to explain why somebody might want to play a game where you shoot hundreds of bad guys. Like, that's harder to explain. Yeah. So that, I think, is taking it a little bit too far. But again, I guess in the whole sense of, like, who decides or judges what's too far. Like the Nerf thing. That whole idea has always been kind of weird. But I mean, some people don't mind it as much as others. So in the end, I don't know. That's the hard part, is that some people will think this is ridiculous. Other people think it's the greatest thing in the world. So can't please everyone.
Right. Now, Seth, you're a lot closer to some of these events here than Lucas or I. So, like,
yes, that's true.
What's your thoughts on what's going on and in your community? Because, I mean, you do work with people in your community. What's going on there with that?
Yeah, this is always an interesting topic. Whenever there's issues like this that come out and video games are blamed or media or whatever. As I've personally, as I've gotten older, I mean, obviously I play Apex Legends and some other games like that, but I play a lot fewer of those sort of things as I get older and as more things happen, and even locally, in my own town, this summer there was a shooting. There was a shooting last night. Half a mile away.
Jeez.
Not like in Dayton or in Texas, but still
horrible event, yeah.
So all of my thoughts about violent video games. Things have changed a lot since, I'm 33, almost 34, and my thoughts on things have changed a lot. And I definitely don't have any qualms about Walmart not openly advertising Call of Duty or anything like that. I mean, I don't think you can ignore, like you talked about, sporting goods stores, or the sporting goods section, and however they do advertisements there or whatever. I mean, there are things that I don't think you can ignore, but I certainly don't have a problem with. Heck, we had at our Walmart, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, there was a shot fired in the parking lot of the Walmart.
Jeez.
Making my town sound not very good. I mean, in general, I like where we live, and things happen everywhere, but I'm more certainly okay with the imagery not being in the Walmart as you walk in. It's enough places as it is. I work in schools, and it doesn't matter whether it's in the store or not. There are kids. I've seen kindergartners wearing Five Nights at Freddy's shirts.
Yeah,
to school.
Right, sure.
And they make toys and stuff.
Yeah, and Call of Duty shirts. I've seen. Yep. I was in a 5th grade classroom one time, and they're allowed to bring books in from home while they read or whatever, and there was a kid who had It, Stephen King's It, from home. It's 5th grade, and so what is that? 11 years old.
Well, and if
maybe
I remember, 12? That book has a certain section that's
horrible
very
section.
not appropriate.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Let alone the violence, and then there's
sure.
that.
There's that specific one. Yeah.
That I just read that It about a year or two ago, and it's the first time I'd ever read the book, and that completely caught me off guard, and just really kind of turned me off from the book.
Yeah.
So anyway, kids are seeing these things. It doesn't matter. On some level, it's kind of like, okay, great. So what? There's not a picture of Call of Duty man at Walmart. They're still on Twitch and YouTube and T-shirts and all sorts of things. And the cynical part just says Walmart tends to be. Maybe I'm being stereotypical, and I live in rural Ohio and have grown up in rural Ohio. But I feel like Walmarts are in more rural areas, or so they're maybe sort of pandering to that idea of the violent video game impact and whatnot. And I'm sure, whatever decisions they're making are for money somewhere along the line.
Right.
Yeah.
That's being somewhat cynical, but on the other hand, in one of their own stores, in El Paso, there were 22 people killed and 24 wounded. I mean, that's gotta have an impact company wide.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I don't know what kind of answer all of that is, but I do get, and I think we get, so this article is on Kotaku, and a lot of our conversation is with people who play games, and we've played games, since we were 5 years old, and so we feel a certain way about games, and it's like, I've been playing GTA since I was 11 years old, and I'm relatively normal.
Relatively.
Right.
So therefore, video games don't have negative impact on me. And I know there's a lot of studies that corroborate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also think we are kind of in an echo chamber, and it's almost like the gun control and gun rights things. If you are big into that circle, then you don't want anybody saying anything that's going to go against your interest.
That's
whether it's guns, whether it's as a journalist, the First Amendment and things that are said about that, or whatever your sphere of interest is. You don't want people saying things that could potentially take away your access to that thing. So I think sometimes we get a little bit insular about that.
That's a good call.
And there are plenty of games, and I've thought about even sort of not challenging, but just kind of doing something where I just don't play games where you shoot for a while. There are plenty of great games out there, like Flat Heroes.
Yes.
And and racing games, and that's one of the reasons I've gravitated toward racing games the past three years here. It's just because I don't generally feel like always immersing myself in the violent things. So
Makes sense.
I don't
know. So Lucas, we got one more. Why don't you hit us up with that?
I thought this was pretty interesting also from Kotaku. Take-Two sends investigators to YouTuber's house to crack down on Borderlands 3 leaks. So apparently there was this YouTuber, this channel, that was getting several copyright strikes from Take-Two Interactive because he had been gone for a little while. He had basically not making a new video, and then he came back and said that he had been hit with these copyright strikes, and then these investigators came to his house in response to months of Borderlands coverage on his channel, which included leaks about upcoming games in the series. Games with an S, not just Borderlands 3. This guy, Matt Supmato Summers, says, since I've had time to reflect on the situation, I'd say excitement got the better of my judgment. It was a pretty SE thing to do. So he's been doing this since 2015. And it's not very clear how he was getting this information. But, I mean, you got so many people who work there. You never know how this stuff leaks out. But it does. It happens to pretty much any game that's in the zeitgeist at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, part of me is like, he says his excitement got the better of his judgment. But let's be honest. You're on YouTube. YouTube, if you get popular enough, you make money.
Mm-hmm.
I think I see a correlation here between, if you're saying that you've got the leaks for Borderlands 3, you're getting clicks on that thing.
Oh,
you know? And they come out with plenty of DLC and stuff that if you're ahead of the game, you're the first one out there. That's all YouTube is. You got to be the first one out there when it comes to game news and stuff like that. So whether or not his intentions were good or bad, I don't know. What do you guys think about leaks?
I mean,
is it necessary evil or?
No, it's definitely not necessary evil. And it's funny because, I mean, he didn't get any of his info supposedly directly from, the team there. So that's different. Like we've done numerous things here at PSVG where we've gotten, early access to games. We've gotten review copies of games. And there's like one in particular. I think it was Sniper Elite. We got ahead of time and Kyle reviewed that. And dude, we had to print out contracts and I had to sign them and Kyle had to sign them just to give coverage for the game. Like they legit wanted like driver's license copies, everything. We had to fax them over to them. Like it was insane. So they take like these non-disclosures if they do give you information very serious. And there's always like, hey, you can or you can't stream this game. You can't talk about it until this date at this time zone. In some cases, like they're super specific about things. That it's no joke. Now I am a little surprised they went after him that hard, like to strip send investigators. It's been going on for 10 months. They've been investigating him. Yeah. But at the end of the article, though, he does say that, and I heard about this previously before this story, that they had screwed up in one of their Twitch streams, and they had kind of given a link to a Twitch account that had all this other stuff posted, such as like character skill trees. So that's how he found out there was additional characters. Like there was information that they were inadvertently making public by accident, and he was just reporting on that.
Oh.
So now it wasn't like super obvious because you had to do a little bit of digging. So like there was a Twitch extension on the videos that led you to an actual real Twitch account that people, I guess, didn't think anything of. Mm-hmm. And if you viewed that Twitch account, you saw all this extra stuff that was being pushed out. So it's technically, like if it went to public knowledge, they put it out on the internet.
Yeah, somebody screwed up somewhere.
And now, yes, he was bringing a big spotlight on that with his followers if he's been doing it this long. But, I mean, you guys put it out there already.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just picking up on things that were posted, that's a completely different thing. Right. However, I don't think everything was that way.
No, you didn't say everything was. So just some of his information was based on that. But yeah, it's weird. I think Gearbox has the rights to do this, and Take-Two rather to protect their investment, if you will. Like this is a big deal. There's a lot of people talking about this game because there's not a whole lot of big multi-platform titles dropping this year, and this is one that we haven't had for a while. So people are excited. So I get their concern. I think they probably could have handled it a little bit better. Like, how about a cease and desist? It doesn't sound like they did that. Went from like copyright strikes, which every YouTuber gets. Like,
Yes.
you use music, you may get a copyright strike, but to sending private investigators to the dude's house, like, that's a big jump. You know?
Yeah, that is a pretty big jump.
Yeah. But Seth.
Yeah, I guess I don't really have anything to add other than I think it was Borderlands 2 was free on PlayStation Plus, in the past couple months.
Handsome Jack Collection, actually,
And,
1, 2, and pre-sequel.
Yeah, and so I jumped into that and ultimately decided it's kind of not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that I hear about this Randy Pitchford and
Yeah.
and different things, and here I'm not even saying, if you violate copyright, then you violate copyright, okay. But just the more stuff I hear around Gearbox, and not that they weren't nice enough. I know they some of our crew, I think Josh has met them, and I'm sure there are plenty of great people on the team or whatever. So it's unfair to paint a whole team based on stories you see on the internet.
Yes.
And whatever. I get that. But on the other hand, seeing stuff like this just kills whatever interest I might have had in the game. And at this point, I'm just looking at other things. There's plenty of stuff coming out.
Yeah.
We should say that.
Yeah, we should say that before they copyright strike us. They've been very nice to us. We did a whole month of review coverage with them, from Duke Nukem to Battleborn to Borderlands. Like, they gave us a ton of stuff and support early on. So, apparently this guy just undid him wrong. So
yeah.
Just don't do them wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So, all right, I think that wraps up our show for this week. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. But before we go, Seth, where can people connect with you and everything else you're up to?
They can find me on the Discord and on Twitter at PSXP Podcast. I'm a little bit quieter on both of those right now as we gear up for the beginning of a new school year, and I have a number of things that I'm involved in to help get the new school year rolling, so I'm a little bit busier than usual. So, but that's where they can find us. Usually Discord, PlayStation channel.
Cool. Lucas, sir.
Well, I am, doing this show. I also do Fluxaposed over on fluxaposed.com. You can check out that podcast, as well as very active on PSVG and Fluxaposed Discord servers, where we have a bit of a Discord there. We have a good time. We talk about things, and we also share pictures of beer and stupidity and, random thoughts that we have, like how much we weigh each month. So if you want to have a Healthify challenge, or, talk about what dinner you made this evening, either one of those places will work, and you can find me there. Heavy metal riff, y'all.
The taco talk on this past week was very fun.
On point.
30
minutes. If you need 30 minutes of taco talk, then we've got you covered over at Flex.
That was great, but it was odd that you guys were talking about my vasectomy and the fact that I apparently look like the character in Blind Spotting.
Yeah,
that was the other thing.
You did. You look like a white gangster guy is what you look like. So.
Yeah, apparently, I guess. So, yeah, with that being said, guys, you can head over to psvg.blog to find all the great things we do and all the great shows we produce and publish out here in the Play Some Video Games Podcast Network. But most importantly, we'd like to thank you for listening each and every week. We do appreciate your support. We do it all for you. So if you have any feedback or requests or comments or whatever, let us know. Lucas and I are pretty easy to get a hold of, and we're open and receptive to ideas. Let us know. So thank you, Seth, for joining us tonight, and thank you, everybody, for listening. But most importantly, as always, we ask that you never
stop
gaming.
This has been a PSVG production. Any music, sound effects, or the like is owned by their respective copyright holders. No infringement is intended. The views expressed in this production are those of the individual contributor and may not necessarily reflect PSVG. This production may not be repurposed, reused, or redistributed without the express written consent of PSVG. PSVG is powered by patrons at patreon.com/PSVG. Become a patron to get special perks, including access to exclusive content.